Famous people who passed away in 1757. Before we proceed, please subscribe to our channel to support us. Daniel Parke Custis. He was born in October 1711 and he died in July 1757. His age was 45 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was heart attack. He was an American planter and politician who was the first husband of Martha Dandridge. After his death, his widow, Martha Dandridge Curtis, married George Washington, who later became the first president of the United States. He is remembered for his wealth and connection to the Washington family. The Custis family was one of the wealthiest and most socially prominent of Virginia, as Daniel Custis was the sole male heir. In the Custis family, he inherited the southern plantations owned by his father. However, Bernard Lebevier de Fontenelle, he was born in February 1657 and he died in January 1757. His age was 99 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a French author and an influential member of three of the academics of the Institut de France, noted specially for his accessible treatment of scientific topics. During the unfolding of the Age of Enlightenment, a French Enlightenment thinker known for his work popularizing science and advocating for intellectual inquiry. He trained in the law, but gave up after one case, devoting his life to writing about philosophers and scientists, especially defending the Cartesian tradition. Thomas Rödeman. He was born in October 1674 and he died in January 1757. His age was 82 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Scottish classical scholar and printer, regarded for his contributions to Latin grammar and philology. He founded a successful printing business, and in 1728 he was appointed printer to the University of Edinburgh. He acquired the Caledonian Mercury in 1729 and in 1730 was appointed keeper of the Advocates' Library, resigning in 1752, and in 1714 he published Rudiments of the Latin tongue, which was long used in Scottish schools. Horatio Walpole, 1st Baron Walpole. He was born in December 1678 and he died in February 1757. His age was 78 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an English diplomat, politician, and peer who served as a British ambassador to France from 1724 to 1730. He was the son of Robert Walpole and the younger brother of Robert Walpole, the first Prime Minister of Great Britain, a British statesman and diplomat who served as an ambassador and is recognized for his role in political diplomacy. After the fall of Sir Robert Walpole in 1742, Horatio defended his conduct in the House of Commons of Great Britain and also in a pamphlet, The Interest of Great Britain Steadily Pursued. John Bay. He was born in October 1704 and he died in March 1757. His age was 52 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was execution. He was a British Royal Navy officer who was court-martialed and executed by firing squad. After joining the Navy at the age of 13, he participated at the Battle of Cape Passaro in 1718. Over the next 30 years, he built up a reputation as a solid naval officer and received promotion to Vice Admiral in 1747. He also served as Commander-Governor of Newfoundland Colony in 1742, Commander-in-Chief Leith 1745 to 1746, and was a Member of Parliament from 1751 until his death. Edward Moore. He was born in March 1712 and he died in March 1757. His age was 47 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an English dramatist and miscellaneous writer. The son of a dissenting minister, was born in Abingdon Berkshire. He was a British playwright and satirist known for his moralistic plays and essays. As a poet, he produced clever imitations of John Gay and Thomas Gray, and with the assistance of Lord Lyttelton, Lord Chesterfield, and Horace Walpole, conducted The World, a weekly periodical on the model of the Rambler. He collected his poems under the title of Poems, Fables, and Plays in 1756. Johann Stamitz. He was born in June 1717 and he died in March 1757. His age was 39 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Bohemian composer and violinist. His two surviving sons, Karl and Anton, were composers of the Mannheim School, of which Johann is considered the founding father. His music is stylistically transitional between the Baroque and Classical periods. He was appointed by the Mannheim court in 1741 or 1742. Most likely his engagement resulted from contacts made during the Bohemian campaign and coronation of Karl Albert of Bavaria, a close ally of the Elector Palatine. Robert François de Mer. He was born in January 1715 and he died in March 1757. His age was 42 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was execution. He was a French domestic servant who attempted assassination of King Louis XV in 1757, culminated in his public execution. He was the last person to be executed in France by dismemberment, the traditional form of death penalty reserved for regicides. His motivation has always been debated, with some historians considering him to have been mentally unstable. He appears to have laid the ultimate blame for that on the king and so formed a plan to punish him. Thomas Blackwell. He was born in August 1701 and he died in March 1757. His age was 55 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was consumptive illness. He was a classical scholar, historian, and one of the major figures in the Scottish Enlightenment, a Scottish historian and scholar of classical antiquity, celebrated for his literary analysis and historical works. He attended the grammar school of his native place and studied Greek and philosophy at Marischal College, graduating in 1718. Blackwell's work enjoyed a high contemporary reputation for nearly half a century. He was regarded as one of the foremost Homeric scholars in Europe. Spencer Phipps. He was born in June 1685 and he died in April 1757. His age was 71 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a government official in the province of Massachusetts Bay. Born Spencer Bennett, he was adopted by Massachusetts Governor Sir William Phipps, his uncle by marriage, whose name he legally took. Phipps served for many years in the Provincial Assembly and on the Governor Council, before receiving an appointment as Lieutenant Governor in 1732, a post he held until his death. He was twice formally acting governor. Paul Alfred de Boursa. He was born in October 1684 and he died in April 1757. His age was 72 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a French Roman Catholic archbishop who served as Bishop of Malta from 1728 till 1757, a Maltese ecclesiastical leader known for his service to the Catholic Church and his guidance to the Maltese diocese. Paul was ordained priest by Bishop David Coco Palmieri on 8 December 1710. He was received as conventual chaplain in the Langue of Provence. He was appointed Secretary of French Affairs by Grand Master Antonio Manuel Givellana. Maximilian Ulysses Count Brown. He was born in October 1705 and he died in June 1757. His age was 51 at the time of his death and he was killed in a battle. He was an Austrian military officer, one of the highest ranking officers, serving the Habsburg Emperor during the middle of the 18th century, an Irish refugee. He was a scion of the Wild Geese, a prominent Austrian field marshal, killed during the Battle of Prague during the 7 Years' War. On his father's death in 1731, he became the third Earl of Browning in the Jacobite peerage. By the age of 29, von Braun was already colonel of an Austrian infantry regiment. Charles Fitz-Roy, 2nd Duke of Grafton. He was born in October 1683 and he died in May 1757. His age was 73 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a British peer and politician, a duke whose family connections and political roles made him an influential figure in the British nobility. Grafton was one of the members of the Hanoverian supporting Kit Kat Club, portrayed by Godfrey Kneller. He served as a Lord High Steward at the King George I's coronation, becoming a Privy Councillor in 1715 and a Knight of the Garter in 1721. He also served as a Lord Lieutenant of Ireland from 1720 to 1724. Kurt Christoph Graf von Schwerin. He was born in October 1684 and he died in May 1757. His age was 72 at the time of his death and he was killed in a battle. He was a Prussian General Field Marshal, one of the leading commanders under Frederick the Great and trusted advisor, killed during the Battle of Prague. In 1719, he opposed the Hanoverian army, which invaded Mecklenburg, and in the following year entered the service of the King of Prussia. After the conclusion of the war, he was governor of the important fortress of Brege and Nessy in the Battle of Prague, leading on a regiment of the left wing to the attack with its colors in his hand. He shouted, "Let all brave Prussians follow me." Sophia Dorothea of Hanover. She was born in March 1687 and she died in June 1757. Her age was 70 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was a queen in Prussia, an electress of Brandenburg during the reign of her husband, King Frederick William I from 1713 to 1740. She was the mother of Frederick the Great. At the time of Sophia's birth, her father was merely the son of a German prince, Ernest Augustus, Duke of Brunswick-Lüneburg. It was not until 1701 that Act of Settlement placed him, through his mother, in line to inherit the throne of Great Britain. Domenico Scarlatti. He was born in October 1685 and he died in July 1757. His age was 71 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an Italian composer. He is classified primarily as Baroque composer chronologically, although his music was influential in the development of the classical style. Like his renowned father, he composed in a variety of musical forms, although today he is known mainly for his 555 keyword sonatas. He spent much of his life in the service of the Portuguese and Spanish royal families. Giuseppe Galli Bibbiena. He was born in January 1696 and he died in March 1757. His age was 61 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an Italian designer who became the most distinguished artist of the Galli, the Bibbiena family, renowned for his elaborate Baroque stage designs, which influenced European theater. It was not until 1723 that he was officially promoted to His Majesty's first theatrical engineer and kept the position until 1747. After receiving his position in the court, Giuseppe became involved in decorating all Habsburg celebratory festivals. Siraj-ud-Dowlah. He was born in March 1733 and he died in July 1757. His age was 24 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was assassination. He was the last independent Nawab of Bengal overthrown and killed after the Battle of Plassey, marking British dominance in Bengal. Siraj succeeded his maternal grandfather as the Nawab of Bengal in April 1756 at the age of 23. Betrayal by Mir Jafar, the commander of Nawab's army. Siraj lost the Battle of Plassey on 23 June 1757. The forces of East India Company under Robert Clive invaded and the administration of Bengal fell into the hands of the company. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and if you like the video, give us a like. Thank you.